every great performance has rehearsals. There's moments when the cast checks their cues, adjusts the lights, and works on their timing. In leadership, tracking and reporting play a similar role. They're how we make sure our progress matches the tempo of our goals. Without them, even the best written strategy can drift offbeat. Think of dashboards not as scorecards, but as mirrors. They're a reflection of our work, but they also help us see whether the story we're trying to tell is landing with the audience.
So as we set our goals, obviously understanding how we are performing to those goals is really important. And part of that understanding comes from tracking and reporting on our progress at some cadence or some interval. The importance of that, I think, is really the ability to course correct when we need to. I mean, sometimes we think the goal makes a lot of sense and the action items that we've developed for that goal seem very reasonable when you start out. But as you go down the course of that initiative or that improvement, you may learn that you're not getting the results that you desired, or that there may be other opportunities that unveil themselves that are important to pursue. And if you're not tracking and understanding your progress along that path, you miss the opportunity to say, yes, we're on track, we should continue on this path, or it's time to pivot and think about doing something in a different way.
I think the other thought about tracking and reporting is that it gives you the chance also to reinforce or motivate that there's been success. And so if you can tell your team, look, it did work. All that work we just went through to change this thing, it is actually making a difference. And those metrics and that translation is really important. Our staff don't always understand the metrics we're tracking, so we want to translate those down to the very frontline process measure that's meaningful to that person who made a change in their work and how it's driving the outcome for the organization.
There are so many ways to track and report, but the key is to choose tools that help your team see the music and not just hear it. Dashboards, puddle boards, and Bizwalls act like sheet music, keeping everyone aligned on the same notes, even when that tempo changes. The goal isn't to drown in data, it's to make essentials clear, visible, and current. When teams can literally see their progress, it invites curiosity and ownership rather than fatigue. And remember, don't wait for the perfect chart. Start simple. The power is in that conversation that happens around the data, not the pixels that go on the page.
So I think it's really important to make sure we're connecting the operating plan and the strategy to our frontline leaders. But it takes a good amount of work. Weeks and weeks of going back and forth with, these are the goals that we're proposing. This is what the organization sees as really important. What do we have to contribute to that? And what's feasible for us to contribute. And that happens at multiple levels, because it's not just me to then a vice president team, but they have to get all the way down to the frontline clinic leaders and their physician partners and say, what's our part in this? And so I think as leaders, we spend a ton of time thinking, what's the next cascade down of this big measure? How do you turn this big measure into the next level metric? Because a big measure needs more actionable steps at each level, all the way down to the very frontline team. And so that's what takes the month or so of preparation between the operating plan getting published and having individual clinic or service line plans, is all of that back and forth and getting to discuss, is this going to work? What can we contribute? What's possible? What's not possible this year?
And is this going to resonate with the folks on the front line, whether they're physicians or staff members of our team? How do we then translate that into something that feels meaningful and tangible to them so that they can focus on that goal in a way that speaks to their day-to-day work, but does further the larger goal that the organization has identified?
Tracking tells us how we're performing and connects the work to the why it matters. This is where leadership becomes storytelling. When goals cascade down to the front line, we have to make sure they're following the overall plot. It's really easy for the plot to get lost in translation. What begins as a brilliant, complex story at the executive level can arrive at the bedside lacking in relevance, especially to our audience. Our job as a leader is to help translate that storyline back into something every performer can feel, act, and play with pride.
So going back when I was told to go ahead and these are what the operational goals are for FY25. I had to think, how can I simplify this for my staff? So looking at the viz wall, I would talk to them, they would look at me and say, Jessica, we don't understand what's up on the wall. So I said, how can I simplify this? So I've taken my board to probably a high school level and really has simplified it for the staff. We talk about it every day in huddle. We go over it every day in our staffing as well. And I have the PCCs actually run the huddle and go over the numbers, really what does today look like? This is today, how are we gonna do it? So they're actually able to visualize it. And I also have a PCC that will physically write down on the actual whiteboard viz wall with a dry eraser. So we're going over it every single day.
Did you catch how Jessica and her team use the viz wall to help them work? It's not just papers posted because they have to. As Jessica shared her viz wall, I'd like to point out a few of the best practices. Bizboards should display all 4 domains and display outcome metrics, and connect call to action to desired outcomes, and be current, and be clearly visible to staff, and be leveraged during structured daily huddles. Notice how Jessica's board starts with the operational plan and each of the 4 domains. Then it lists her corresponding clinic goals, A3s to show how they're working through each of their goals, process measures, and outcome measures. Within the engagement domain, the goal is for 80% of the staff to participate in improvement work. The board shows the projects, who has completed a project, and who's left, the current participation, and their overall engagement survey results. Not only does Jessica link the metrics on her wall, but she does a beautiful job of engaging her team. So that way they're the ones making the linkages.